Hello, this is Retro Ken 53. This will be my first YouTube video, hopefully. I bought this Atari XF551 disk drive a while ago. Got it, it didn't work. Tested the power supply, found it dead, so I took off the cover. First thing I noticed was this chip, which is the 8040 microcontroller, was missing. Removed the drive itself, found that the ROM is missing. Okay, so tested across the power here and had a short. So started looking into that. Looked at the other side of the board and found this mess here. Let me see if I can zoom in some more on that. There we go. Hopefully now you can see. We got rip traces here that don't connect. We have them here. It looks like somebody, I don't know whether they didn't realize the power supply was bad and replaced the jack and the, I think this is the 5-volt regulator, thinking that that's why they had more power, or if they changed it, created a short and blew the power supply. I'm not sure which, because this wire here is going to here, which is actually, I believe, the ground plane of the board, but it was tucked in over here, which is actually where it's supposed to go, but that would create a short. So I moved it over, but the wire should really go here. So that's the story to start out with. So that's the introduction to this. Now I need to try to fix all this up and bring you back and see if I can get this to work. We'll resume later. Okay, I'm back. Some time has passed. I just worked on this intermittently. Sometimes I'd get frustrated and let it go for a couple days and think about it and come back. But I've made some progress. So as you can see, the multimeter is set up. It's on the 12-volt rail and 12 volts. And if I switch over to the 5-volt rail, close enough, 5 volts. So now I need to explain how I got here. Don't need this anymore. So if you can see this down here, this is the schematic of the power section of the thing. So you've got your 5 volts AC coming in, goes through these coils, I'm not sure why, and then comes through here, gets rectified in this bridge rectifier. The output of the bridge rectifier is supposed to go straight into the LM7805 to give you your 5 volt for your 5-volt regulator. Then this circuit up here is called a voltage doubler, and basically using these two capacitors and these two diodes, it approximately doubles the voltage of the circuit, actually minus the voltage drop across the diodes, which is a little over half a volt each, so it's a little more than a volt less than double. But then that's supposed to go into the LM7812 to give you your 12 volts. And none of that was working. So to start out with, what I did, if you remember all the bodge wires, I took all the bodge wires off, okay? And then I was able to here, I just scraped away a little bit of the solder mask and was able to bridge this with solder. And that got me my AC voltage all the way across here and into the rectifier, which is right here, okay? So then I'm thinking, okay, I should have some voltages some places, minus, of course, these RIP things, but I wasn't getting, I'd intermittently get a little bit of voltage here and here, but it was very intermittent. So I'm thinking, you know, what's going on? Well, in repeatedly testing things, I finally noticed that this pin here would move when I put my probe on it. So you can probably see it's got nice shiny solder on there. I put a little bit of flux and some fresh solder on there, got that connected, and boom, get about 14 volts over here, which is good input for that. But I was only getting a little over 6 volts over here for input for the 12 volt regulator, so that's of course not going to work. So I'll start looking at the two diodes, D3 here, and where's D2? Don't see it right now. Okay, and the two capacitors. Okay, I think C102 here and that. So what I did was I took the can off and desoldered the capacitors to test them out of circuit because I wasn't sure I was getting the right readings in circuit. Turned out I was. They're supposed to be 4,700 microfarads, and they're actually tested out at 44.5, something like that, which I thought, well, a little bit low, but shouldn't cause it to totally not work. And then I was testing the diodes, and one of the two diodes, I don't think it was this one, I think it was D2. Again, I'm not seeing exactly where that is right now. I pulled one side of that because when I would test it on the component side of the board, it would test good. On the other side, it was giving me erratic things. So I tested that out of circuit, and it tested good. Resoldered it in, put back in the capacitors, and boom, I got like 26 something volts to here. So, okay, good. Now I had good input to the voltage regulators. Now while I had the can off, because the 5 volt regulator here screws onto the inside of the can, I decided to go ahead and change it, even though I didn't know it was bad. And actually, after I got done, I tested it outside using my bench power supply, and it appeared to be good. But I changed it out, which I think made the next part a little easier anyhow. And so then here again, I just scraped some, well, what I actually did was I bent the leg over and scraped a little bit of a solder mask off there, soldered that pin down. This one I did exactly the same as it was when I got it. They had already scraped that off and bent a pin over. So I did that, and then over here again, bent the pin over, scraped some off, did it, and got my 5 volts out. to here where it belongs. Over here, one, because the pins are shorter, because on a new one they haven't been clipped off and I had more room, and just space-wise, for the ground here, I did scrape off some solder mask over here, bend the pin over some, and made that connection, but then I used bodge wires to go from here to here, and from here to here on the 12 volt. After I did all that, I had the 12 volts as I showed you. So then the next thing I did was tested some of the, I pulled up the pinouts of some of these major chips, and I tested them, and they are getting the 5 volts they're supposed to be, so this should be ready to work once I put the new chips I bought in. So that got done. So then I turned my attention to the disk drive itself. And the first thing I noticed, I don't know what this came off of, but it was jammed under here, keeping this from spinning. So I removed it, and like I said, I can't see anywhere on the drive that this might have come from. So I don't know what the story is there. But next I removed this cover and checked that things turned and the head could go back and forth on the rails. All that checked out. So the good thing is this is a regular drive like you'd find in a PC. The only difference I found, and you apparently can't see it, under this cover there's a jumper block, and it was set to DS0, drive select 0, and on PCs they're set to drive select 1, so I still have this cover off. I put the switch jumper to DS1, hooked it to my PC Junior, and was able to read the directory of a known good diskette. So then I put this back together and it's ready to go. So the next step will be to reassemble everything, and then I'll bring you back to see if it actually works. Okay, in this part of the video I want to show what the drive does when I try to use it. I have it turned on, put this disk in, turn on the computer, okay, apparently I don't have the drive on. Now the drive's on. Computer. And now turn on the computer. And as you see, the head just sort of clicks. Turn off the computer so it quits. Turn off the drive. Move the head some, turn the drive back on, so the mechanism moves okay, it just isn't working. So now I have my 1050 drive below it. I need to switch some cables, power up the drive. The SIO cable, there we go. So now when I turn on the computer, oops, okay, here's the same disk in my happy modified 1050 drive. See it boots. Then if I type DOS, boots to DOS. So there's still something wrong with the XF551 I'll have to look into. All for now. Okay, I have the monitor and the disk drive on. DOS XE master disk. In the drive. Turn on the 130XE. And it works. Try that with, that's a commercial disc, so shows everything's aligned properly. This is a disc that I made using my 1050 with the Happy mod. And so, as you can see, it now works. Next, I'll explain what I did to get it working. Okay, I'm back. Let's see how well this works. Hopefully you can see it enough. If not, I'll have to do another take. So thinking about how it was working, I sort of concluded that, okay, here's the SIO ports, so that's okay. Then it comes down, here's the 8040, and over here is the ROM, and going between them, this is a buffer chip, just to buffer the signals going between. All that has to be working because it's communicating and trying to do things when you turn on the computer and do things with the computer. So I've pretty much eliminated all that. So then I came down and started looking, and this is the hard disk, the floppy disk controller chip, and it goes through both the 74LS14, and some of them go through a LS38. Okay, so decided to focus on those chips. I replaced the 74LS14. It's a inverter, meaning that if the signal's going into it is low, the output's high. If the input's high, the output's low. So it just inverts the signal. I changed that, and I don't know whether I did it or it was already that way, but I used a desoldering braid to do that, and took one whole pad 8 here completely off, and half of 9, which is on the date. Now 9 I was able to solder to and make a connection. I had to put a bodge wire on 8 going to this, to the connector for the floppy disk drive. I did that, hooked it up, it worked exactly the same as before, so I thought, well, then maybe it's a 74LS38, so I changed that. There, only one, I used my desoldering station and did a lot better. One, it was a lot quicker. I'll be doing them that way from now on, but still one pad got somewhat messed up. It was the ground pad. I was still able to solder to it and make a connection. Made no difference. So I'm like, does that mean that the WD 1772 is bad? Now I bought some 1770, which are supposed to be compatible, but you know, but being as every time you touch this you tear up pads and stuff, I was very reluctant to take that bigger chip out. So spent some time thinking about it and thinking about how it was acting, and I actually plugged it back into the computer a few times and watched it. And one of the things I observed was it was actually loading track 0, okay, and then failing. And when it got done loading track 0, it would move in the wrong direction. So I thought, well, right here, pin 18 on here is the direction pin. So I'm like, oh, okay. Let me check connectivity. Well, it turns out I messed up. I accidentally did my bodge wire to 16, which is would be the motor pin, okay? Like that's what the MO stands for. So I'm like, oh. So I moved my bodge wire to where it belonged, and that's when I plugged it in, and it worked, okay, as you saw in the previous part of this video. So that was working, but you might have noticed in that video that the activity light on the disk drive wasn't working. So I looked into that and found somebody had been in that part of it too, and the pads were ripped. I thought at first I removed the LED, and I thought the LED was bad, but I used my bench power supply to test it, and it was good. So I had to do some bodging and stuff, but I got that hooked back in, and it works, which I will show a video of it working properly at the end of this. And that's where we are. It's now fully fixed. So, next video. Hi, this is the last part of this video. I wanted to show that the activity light now works and discuss this channel since it's new. So let's turn everything on and see the drive in action. The light will activate briefly when the drive is turned on, and then whenever it is being accessed and transferring data. It seems to be tied to the spindle motor activity. As you can see, the drive is now fully functional. This was by far the most extensive and difficult repair I have done. A few years ago, I fixed my Mac Plus with the help of some kind people on the 65K MLA forum. The picture was shrunken horizontally, replacing the bipolar horizontal capacitor fixed it. I also changed the REFA capacitors while I had it apart. When I got my first Atari computer, I bought 3 1050 drives before I got one that worked. I later fixed the other 2 drives and added the Happy 1050 mod to the one that worked. I got some help with this from members of the Atari Age forum. I have since sold the other 2 drives and will probably sell the 1050 drive with the Happy mod since I no longer need it. I wanted the XF551 because it is the drive Atari made to go with my 130XE. The first Atari drive made for the 400 and 800 was the 810, which was a single-sided and single-density disk, held 90 kilobytes of data. When the 600XL and 800XL came out, the 1050 was introduced. It had what Atari called enhanced mode, allowing this to hold 130 kilobytes of data. Various upgrades, the 1050 Happy mod being one, extended drive to true double density and all sped up transfer speeds. This then can hold 180 kilobytes of data. The XF551 was introduced with the 65XE and 130XE computers. It can read and write all the previous formats and is a double-sided, double-density drive, allowing this to hold 360 kilobytes of data. The name of this channel was chosen not only because it will mostly feature retro computers, but also because my name is Ken, and I was born in 1953. At 71 years old, I am retro, so anything I choose to make a video about is retro because I am retro. I own a few Raspberry Pis, the A500, the C64, the Spectrum, and an Agon Lite, and a Neo 6502. I chose these for 2 reasons, one being cost, and the other, more importantly, space. I need to shrink my collection to fit the space I have available, so using emulation is a way to accomplish that. I want to get to a point where all of my collection fits on some built-in bookshelves I have in my computer room. I can just pull them out and set them up on a desk when I want to use them. My videos will not come out on any schedule, just as ideas come to me and I have time to film them. I do have ideas for a couple of videos, so they should come out soon. I'm still learning how to set up the camera for best results and how to use the video editing software, Kdenlive, so the video quality should improve as I gain experience. If you have any interest in this topic, please like this video and subscribe to the channel. That is all for now. Goodbye and have a great day.